So thank you so much for joining me this morning. We have a very interesting topic. I'm hoping to get you all engaged in this topic. Wonderful. So let us begin with our heart coherence breathing technique. I'm just going to check the chat, make sure. Loud and clear from Nancy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandy. Good morning to you. All right. Without further ado, let us begin this. So let us begin our heart-focused breathing technique by placing our awareness in the area of the heart. And just gently place your awareness in the area of the heart. And then take slow, deep breaths. And just visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Take those deep breaths. And make these breaths symmetrical. Draw them in through your heart. And exhale from your heart. And if you're not sure how deep these breaths should be, you have two options. One is to count 5 as you breathe in, so about 5 seconds. And count 5 when you breathe out. And count them slowly. The other option is you take a deep breath in, deeper than normal, and see how far you can take that in without making it very uncomfortable. It's a very simple technique. So take those slow, deep breaths. Visualize them flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. And see if you feel a difference from when you were there before and when you did this. Is there a big change in how you feel now when you take these slow, deep breaths in? If there's a huge shift that you feel, just from the way your body feels, that means you were not as coherent as you are now. And now you know how to get back into coherence very quickly by just these 2 steps. Slow, deep breaths in. Visualize them flowing in and out of your heart. You can do this with your eyes open or your eyes closed. Place awareness in the area of your heart and take slow, deep breaths. Visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me this morning at your Monday morning espresso shot. Let us now get into the topic that we want to talk about today. This topic was inspired by a good friend of mine. She was having a conversation with me yesterday. She said, I think I'm meant to suffer in this lifetime. And I asked her, open questions. I asked her an open question. I said, tell me more. And she goes, well, I wanted to do my own painting, read a book that's on my shelf. I wanted to, go out and hang out with friends. but I can't. And I said, well, tell me the circumstances around that, and when you can't do that. She said, I'm always worried about my mom because her mom lives in a different city, and her mom is not doing well, and she seems to feel that her mom's lonely. So she said that I'm constantly worried about my mom. Nobody in the family takes care of my mom. I have to keep going down to that city, spend a lot of money, the money that I can't afford, but I'm always worried about my mom. Even when I'm there, I'm worried about my mom. So I said to her, I said, look, is this God's plan? Is this the universe's plan? She says, yes, absolutely. It has to be. So I said, that's interesting. I said, so is universe punishing your mom as well? Because obviously your mom's suffering. She couldn't answer that question because she loved her mom so much. And then I cited a few other examples saying, well, your brother, is the universe also got a predestined purpose for your brother? And she goes, well, yeah, it must be. And I said, well, then why are you worried about your mom or your brother? Because if they're already predestined to be who they are and there's nothing they can do to change it, what's there to worry if that's your particular issue? And then she started kind of unraveling this a bit more. She says, you know, I really need to get back to you and really process this. My point in all of this was that when you actually feel that the universe is against you, that you feel that you are powerless against the universe, then if that's the case, worrying or not worrying becomes the only choice you have. And so why worry? Just not worry and just go with the flow. It's a very simple concept. However, if you think the universe has no power over you, or a lot of power over you, there's no need to worry. If you feel the other way, like I do, that we create our reality. We don't, if we fall on ice, or if we, if we're burglarized, or somebody, victimizes me, it doesn't mean that I call that on myself. Rather, I would say that is something that I probably had intuitive guidance, but I didn't listen to that. An example from my friend said that, when I was getting into this car with this cab driver, I had this intuition not to go with this cab driver. And she says, but I didn't listen to it because I felt, what about, he has to earn money. Well, it so happened that her mom slipped and fell because of the neglect of this cab driver. So was that God trying to get back to her, or was that her not listening to her own intuition, which should have directed her in a different path? So the idea here is that your intuition is always there from the source. You are in charge of listening to it or not listening to it. And how do you get in touch with that intuition? How do you get in touch with that gut feel, or that heart-based, yes, this is an inspirational message coming from God or universe? Is we just went through a 5-minute breathing technique. And we're about to go through the next 5-minute breathing technique that helps us understand that. So it is not that the universe is against you. It is that you need to ask the universe, I want this kind of life, and then listen for that subtle cues that come to you and say, well, you must do this. How many of us have received inspiration from our hearts and we simply ignore it? And when we ignore it and something bad happens to us, or something unwanted happened to us, we say, God is against me, universe is against me. But it's our own doing, because we don't listen to our intuition. So that is my sermon for today. Any questions or concerns or comments, please do type those in, and I will handle them after the next segment. All right? All right. Let's go into the coherence building technique. This is the advanced level of the technique. Please join me in doing this, and see if we can let's today find out if we get subtle messages from the heart and inspiration that we can actually use to move forward in our lives. So let us begin. Let us begin by placing awareness in the area of our heart. And then take slow, deep breaths. Visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. Breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. And now experience a regenerative emotion such as love, appreciation, compassion, peace, gratitude, courage. Put a gentle smile on your face. And take these slow, deep breaths. Visualize them flowing in and out of your heart. Breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. And simply listen. In this exercise, do not ask any questions. There are no questions to be asked. Just sit there in contemplation and just listen. Listen to the subtle messages. Feel the inspiration coming down and just accept what comes down. Slow, deep breaths. Visualize these flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. Experience regenerative emotions, compassion, gratitude, appreciation, and just listen. Sometimes the message may not be a message at all. It may be a feeling of getting hugged. It may be a feeling of love. You may just experience not words, but emotions. So embrace that. Accept it. Once in a while, all we need is a hug from the universe. And that is enough. Just accept and receive this love that you're feeling into your heart. Embrace it. Slow, deep breaths. Visualize these flowing in and out of your heart. And just listen. A gentle smile on your face. Wonderful. Notice your breathing. Are you taking those deep breaths in from your heart and exhaling from your heart? Are these breaths deep and slow? Do you feel the gratitude, the appreciation, the kindness in your heart? Just sit in these emotions. Beautiful. Listen to the heart's subtle messages. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today on this particular segment. I wanted to thank you for taking the time, and if you have any questions, by all means, let us hear your questions. All right. Nancy, you have written us something here, which I'll read in a second here. All right. Let me just... My brother has the exact same attitude, feels he is made to suffer as he has a number of health issues that are worsening. he says he is okay with that. He is balancing some previous life energy. Interesting. You know, this is one of the things I did mention to this friend of mine who said this. And I said, look, the universe has provided us with free will. Part of that free will is to allow us to experience life of the belief system that we want. So if we have a belief system that we are rebalancing energy from a past life, then that is what your ask is, and you are receiving it. And this is the entire point. Nancy, my suggestion to you is one thing, is that if you feel that he's misinformed, that there's another way to approach that, or you feel that you can counsel him to look at things differently, then by all means do so. Ask him to consider the fact that he can choose whatever life he wants, because the universe this universe allows us free will, and we bring upon ourselves the belief systems that we want, and then it is manifested. If he is not receptive to that, then just hold space for him, because he has free will. If the universe is benevolent enough, the Creator is benevolent enough to honor free will, so should you, and that is his free will. But if his suffering should not make you suffer, because that is the detachment that I want people to practice here. When you feel compassion in your heart, it's compassion. Compassion is really love without detachment. Because when you feel love for somebody else, you don't care about the outcome. That's the unconditional part. So you just dive into your heart, ask your heart, what is it that I can say to my brother that's appropriate? And sometimes all you need to do is just smile and be there with him and hug him, if that's your relationship with him. And sometimes that's enough for him to open up his own wisdom. And sometimes when they open up their own wisdom, that is really the key here, is when you give them lots of love and compassion, and you are not feeling the unwanted emotions. When you are beaming with that love and compassion for others, that energy does go to them. And if they receive it, because it's their choice to receive it, if they receive it, then that is the part that will allow them to open up and tap into their own intuition, and they may choose one way or the other. That's the best thing we can do for people like that, Nancy. Thank you so much for sharing. I know it is hard at times. It is definitely. And you have to breathe through it. It's tough to see our loved ones suffer the way they do. I completely get that. So that's, we have to all honor that. All right?